This week on the Organized Life podcast.
And then your role moves into more of a coach, middle
Mm-hmm.
school, high school. And then I was actually told that now that my son is a young adult, parenting looks like advising.
Mm,
And so what I think about coaching, the coach doesn't get out there and play the game. Okay?
absolutely.
The coach helps you with a strategy.
Yep.
The coach asks questions like, what was you doing?
Right.
What do you think you could have done better?
Yes.
How are you gonna figure this out when you get out there? Sometimes the team huddle without the coach, right?
Mm.
Because the coach asked the question, and now that team captain got to say, "Okay, what we gonna do, y'all?"
Hey, 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 and welcome to the Organized Life podcast, where we are creating a movement with powerful organizing strategies and systems that save you space, time, energy, and money. I am your host, Tequila Renee, the life organizing strategist and the owner of Extreme Audacity Organized Solutions. Everybody just calm down. I know y'all see the girl. My girl Tiffany Blassingame is here. She's in the building. She's in her building and I'm in my building, but you get the point. We are here together just to have a good time. You guys just get to listen in on our conversation. Tiffany and I met because she is a part and one of the founding members of the National Association of Black Professional Organizers, where I am honored to be the president. And listen, I have met some amazing women of being a part of that organization, and she is one of those. And I just love Tiffany. So, when I'm preparing for the podcast and what I'm going to say about my guests, I was like trying to figure out what is it that I love so much about Tiffany? Like, you're so fun. Uh, she's semi soft spoken, but listen, she will come. She'll come and get you, okay? And she's just brilliant. She's so smart. She's just a great person to be around. We got to hang out at a conference together, and listen, she was tickling me the whole time. All right, y'all. So this is Tiffany. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yay, I'm excited too. Would you tell the Organized Life podcast listeners a little bit about Tiffany Blessingame?
I can do that. So I'm Tiffany, and my company is Simple Organization, where I help students and families create a more organized approach to home, work, and school. So, my specialty is student organizing, and I got into student organizing through being an educator. So I've been an educator for over 20 years. I'm a fourth generation educator. So my mom, my grandma, and my great grandma were all teachers.
Oh wow.
And so education just came naturally to being the career that I'm in. But what I started to see within my generation of teaching is that students have struggles with their executive function skills, those skills that help you to plan and prioritize and organize. And much of that comes from some of the exceptionalities that we see more of now. So ADHD, autism, giftedness, anxiety, all of those things affect your executive function skills. And then just being a kid, particularly middle schooler and high schooler,
My Lord.
there's a whole nother story. So that's how I got into this pathway of student organizing and helping students to get organized so that their parents don't continue to pull their hair out. Um, Also, I am the parent of a young adult now. Tequila, when we met, he was a high schooler, maybe even middle schooler. And you were telling me to hang in there,
Listen.
that it would be okay. And y'all, I was hanging on. You hear me? I'm still kind of hanging.
Listen, we were both hanging on. I was encouraging you while I was encouraging myself, okay? Because our kids are pretty much around the same age. Mine maybe a little bit, maybe a year.
Hmm.
My youngest is maybe a year older than your son, but listen, it be
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yes. And life be life.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's who I am, how I got into this, and I'm excited.
yeah. So you left out some things, I might say. Listen, Tiffany is all the things, y'all, so don't let her fool you. So she's also um a founder of, or you is founder of Ebony Orderly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm a founding member of Ebony and Orderly, which is
Um,
a collaboration of 6 Black professional organizers in Atlanta.
yep. She's also, I don't know, are you tell them about your micro school.
Okay, I thought you were getting
See?
to that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not going over that. That's like a
Okay,
big part of what you do.
that
Most
is true.
more than what you do.
That is true. So
Yeah.
as an educator, I'm also the founder of a micro school, which is a small school with multi-age classes, kindergarten through 5th grade. And our focus is on supporting kids with their executive function skills at a young age so that they are prepared for middle and high school. So I started the school in 2021 with just 2 kids, and now we're up to 25 kids, fully accredited, serving kindergarten through 5th grade, and just reimagining what education looks like. If we didn't have all of the red tape, the somebody's going to shut something down, they're taking the funding away. We're just out here learning and enjoying ourselves and moving forward. Kids just being happy to be at school, and parents happy that they have a safe place to drop their kids off, where they know they're loved and protected. So, yeah.
That's crazy. That's great. That's awesome. It's mind blowing. Like you went from 2 students to 25. Like, and it was like pretty much still the thick of COVID.
Yes. Yeah. That was a driving force
Yeah.
of creating a space for kids so they could catch up and or either get the enrichment that they need.
Yeah.
We have class sizes no larger than 10 kids in a
Mm,
class. Yeah.
awesome. I also love your DEI work. And I'm gonna tell you what I love most specifically. One of the things that you do when you speak on DEI is that you open people's minds up about the injustices, right? And you do it with conviction, not condemnation.
Mhm.
And I love that because we have, you spoke at a big conference a couple of years ago that I was able to attend, and it was mostly people that didn't look like us.
Mhm.
And the room was just soaking up everything that you had to say. And even on our calls with our allies for the National Association of Black Professional Organizers, they're very intrigued, they're very interested, they're learning. And I love that you open people's minds up to something different, and you don't make them feel, condemnation, right? So I really, really enjoy your talks on DEI and learning because I actually do learn a lot from your speaking.
Thank you so much. I think that the biggest challenge for most people in DEI is often to just come from a space of love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we talked about this with James Baldwin, right? If I love you, I have to make you aware of the things that you do not see. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we as people have been called to love one another.
Yeah,
And so I'm going to show up in that way,
yeah,
in that space of love,
yeah.
and approach it that way.
And you do that very much so.
Thank you.
Yeah. So listen, you guys. All right, we're already in the thick of the podcast, but if you've missed any part of season 3, you want to go ahead and go back and get it, but you make sure you finish listening to this one first, all right? And then you go back and listen to some of the other ones. We've talked about how to prepare for the holidays mentally, emotionally, physically, all the things to help you prepare. We're actually in the thick of the holidays. So, really setting yourself up for success so that you won't have that after season burnt out that many of us have after the holiday season, drained mentally, emotionally, physically. So today, Tiffany and I are just going to kind of have a conversation about that. We're also going to talk about how to prepare your students for the second quarter of the school year, right? So we'll get into all that. You guys just stay tuned and keep listening. So, um, Tiffany, what is your favorite part about being in your profession? What is it that you love that drives you? And we can talk about all the things, right? So you're educator, you're professional organizer. So what is your favorite part about how you use your expertise?
Well, I'm glad you said that because I was like, okay, where do I begin? As an educator, which also lends itself, like I still feel like I am an educator when I'm working with students. Um, my favorite part is helping students to see something in a different way, right? Because if we
Mm-hmm.
really think about what learning is this productive struggle between something you didn't know to something that you now know. Um, and lots of people think like, oh, the kid got an A on this, and it was something they already knew. Like, so they're not really
Yeah.
learning; they're
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
using, right? So actually seeing them grapple with something and to realize that they've come from one side to the next side is my favorite thing, and not just because they learned the thing, but
Yeah.
because they persevered. They showed stamina when they wanted to give up.
Mm-hmm.
That they're proud of themselves when they're done with it. They have confidence that sometimes they can transfer that knowledge to something else. Like it's so much deeper than just I learned my multiplication facts, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my favorite part of educating students. With student organizing, so I have students that come back to me and say like, hey, I'm in high school now and I'm finally using XYZ.
Yeah.
3 years ago. But I'm glad you got it, girl.
Yes.
But it's the fact that they remembered it. It's the fact that they had the tool in their toolbox. And so sometimes parents, we don't see it at the time, but it's there and they are and were listening and they use it when they get ready. So
Absolutely.
I would say that, yeah.
But if you think about it, when I work with adults,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'll get a text months later, years later, saying, "Listen, you told me A, B, C, and D, and I I use it so much now."
Mm-hmm.
Right? They didn't get it before, but they getting it now. And it's those things that we share with them that you really don't know what you're saying. You don't know how much of what you're saying is actually going to stick,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Until
Until
it does.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's great. So, what do you say, or believe, or think some of the common challenges are that you see with families when it comes to like staying organized at home, at school, work? Like, what do you see some of the challenges are?
So, what I hear the most from families are um, in the home, we'll start in the home,
Yeah.
are things all over the place, even though there's a place to put them.
Mm.
right? So it's not sometimes that the parent doesn't have a place, it's that there's a place, and the rest of the family, particularly the children, are not using that place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that comes into this child's executive function skills, right? Of needing some extra reminders, some visual reminders to put things where they go,
Yeah.
right? It's not that the fact that the parent doesn't have it. And then on the school side, that's driving the parents crazy, or missing assignments, assignments that I know they did, but they did not submit it, because now it's not I didn't turn the paper in. Most schools are not turning in papers. Middle school, high school, all right? You got to submit it on the school
Yeah.
system, all the things, right? And so, like, if you did it, why didn't you submit it? Like, we just don't understand.
Girl.
So the missing assignments, the not being able to get started, like task initiation,
Mm.
not knowing how to chunk an assignment, like don't wait to the last minute to do the essay, like you could have done the outline, you could have done
My
this.
Lord.
Yeah, see, you feeling it, right?
Girl.
Those are the things that I hear from families about. This is a struggle in our home, and it's causing tension, right? Like, instead of being able to enjoy dinner and have a dinner conversation like you read that you're supposed to be doing, you fussing about the assignment. And now you mad all through dinner because now you got to stay up after dinner and get
Yeah.
stuff done. Those kinds of things.
You know what's so funny is that I think about how many times God has had to say certain things to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I think about how many times I had to say certain things to my kids and how frustrated I would get.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I mean, they're good and out of school. But in hindsight, it was like, okay, you could have probably been a little bit more patient, because if you thought about how many times you didn't do what you were supposed to do, but
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of it, in the thick of it, it's like, Lord, can you not get it? And so I think once, oftentimes it's a lack of routine, a lack of, I try to get some of my parents to see, like, if you do the same things every day, like the kids really do the same things every day
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
until they get home from school.
Right.
Until they get home from school. If you can put the same structure in place at home that, similar to what they have at school, you'll have a little bit more success than allowing them to come home and just be free for all.
Yes.
Right? There's a free for all time from this time to this time. But before that, this is what we're doing. After that, this is what we're doing. So I've worked with clients on setting up command centers, setting up
Mm-hmm.
schedules and stuff like that to help them, like, because you can't just blame the child, right? We have to take some responsibility for what's actually happening, and what structure you're putting in place for them. And so I think a lot of times we need to put more structure in place for our kids. I know that when I did have more structure in place for my kids, they were a little bit more successful. And sometimes they still didn't do what they were supposed to do. But,
Right.
that
Right.
comes with the territory of having a middle school and a high school child, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the biggest issues is, students' executive function skills are developing just as rapidly as they were, in middle school as they were when they were toddlers, and we don't see that, right? So when they're toddlers, we expect to, okay, this is where this goes, or
Yeah.
don't be having those tantrums. Regulate your emotions. Okay, we don't say that, but this is what we're gonna do here, and then I'm gonna set the timer because we're gonna leave grandma's house. Don't start all that howling and screaming. We gonna leave, right? Well, those executive function skills are developing, and we're coaching them through it, right? That's what brain research has shown us. Then
Hmm.
they get in elementary school, and there's some pruning happening, so it's not growing as rapidly. And we put them in school in a structured environment where all that's happening. So it becomes a part of their day to day. Well, then they become middle schoolers and their brain is developing just as rapidly as it was when they were 2 and 3. But in our minds, we're like, but you should know better. They,
Absolutely.
they don't because they brain doing all kind of stuff. And then they got the hormones doing all kind of stuff. Okay.
Yes.
So now you just got a mess. Okay. And so we got to go back to the coaching that we did when they were 2 or 3. And we got to be just as patient as we were then. That you're not over parenting them. Now, if you're doing it for them, you're over parenting. But you didn't really do it for the 2 or 3 year old. You were like, okay, she can get it. She's getting it. She knows where it goes.
Right.
You got to do that same thing with that middle schooler. And then they will begin to carry some of that into high school when they're getting it together.
Yeah.
But I think we have not begun to truly understand how that neuroscience affects our home. Like it's not just good information for doctors. That
Right.
affects our home, and then how do we be patient with our kids and coach them, keep them in the game versus doing it for them.
I love like those two things that you just said. We are our kids' first coach,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think most parents see it that way. We see it as parenting instead of coaching them and being their cheerleader and teaching them and training them. And then I love what you talked about with overparenting. I'm a big advocate for training my children to be independent. I was never an overparenting, probably the total opposite. So I probably was all the way like you got to figure it out, you know. Talk a little bit more about that, like how we can coach our children and not overparent them, because I think there's a happy middle ground with that
Mm-hmm.
that I think is missed.
Yeah, yeah. So I think parenting as we know it happens during that birth through, let's say, age 10. We're just really parenting the way that I don't know
Yeah,
how else to put it, but parenting,
yeah,
doing the thing, right?
yeah.
And then your role moves into more of a coach, middle
Mm-hmm.
school, high school. And then I was actually told that now that my son is a young adult, parenting looks like advising.
Mm,
And so, what I think about coaching, the coach doesn't get out there and play the game. Okay?
absolutely.
The coach helps you with a strategy.
Yeah.
The coach asks questions like, what was you doing?
Right.
What do you think you could have done better?
Yes.
How are you going to figure this out when you get out there? Sometimes the team huddle without the coach, right?
Mm,
Because the coach asked the question, and now that team captain got to say, okay, what we going to do, y'all? All
yeah.
right. So the coach is asking questions, helping with strategy and planning.
Mm-hmm.
And then later in that young adult life, even if your children are at home, all right, because a lot of times we don't talk about that. And a
Yes.
lot more kids are staying home or
Yeah.
deciding to, work and then get their place later as they are able to,
Yeah.
or if you have a child with special needs that's unable to go away at the beginning of their adult life,
Yeah.
of how to advise them of wait, they come to you, right? Usually as an advisor, you set up some office hours, think about it. And they come to you find out when to take their classes or when to get your finances together. So you got to, okay, you got to come here to me, and now we can talk through it, right? And they still
Yeah.
build that independence.
Yeah. So I am definitely in the advisory phase of parenting. I feel like I still do some coaching,
Hmm.
but I found that the advising portion of it oftentimes comes on the tail end of you done messed up. Now you want my advice.
Yeah, fail them classes, and now you want to figure out how you can get what class in. Is there any aid? What's happening?
Listen,
Yeah,
like
that's the advisor.
that's right. It's so funny, but what I'm realizing too with working with parents that have even those third, fourth, fifth, they're a little bit smart. I don't want to say smarter than they used to be, but they
Hmm.
have access to more things, and
Right.
they have a little bit more awareness of certain things. So it feels like they're growing up a lot sooner. So that coaching, what I'm seeing, it needs
Hmm.
to start earlier than middle school before they
Hmm.
get to listen. These kids be thinking they know things that they don't know.
Right. Yes.
And
Because they have
the coach,
exposure to so much.
yes, the coach got to wheel them back in.
This is true. This is true.
Listen. So you talked about emotions. So, how does organization impact a child's or even a teen's, and we have young adults now, emotional well-being when they're in school academically, and even like you were saying, some kids are not even going to school; they're
Mhm.
going to straight to work out of high school. So, how does the organization impact them, like emotionally? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, with executive function skills,
Mhm.
emotional regulation is one of those skills, right? So, how you're able to control your emotions when something doesn't go your way or as you plan for it to go. How flexible can you be in your thinking, like when plans change? And if you think back to that toddler, those type of things that something changed and now you can't go to the playground because it rained, and then it's a whole thing, right?
Yes.
Same thing about going to the football game. Now you can't go, not because it rained, because of your behavior or
Mm.
your grades, or you got to do that assignment that you didn't submit.
Yes.
So that emotional regulation. We're also seeing, and there's a book called Anxious Generation.
Mm.
I forget the author, but uh, they have done the research behind the effects of screen time and access to all of the devices, all of the things, and how that affects the emotional regulation of our children right now.
Mhm.
So between young adult now, I don't know which generation we're in right now, and the babies. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's been a big talk, that book, around things that we can do differently at home and at school, because we're parenting a generation that has only known having these devices. They've only known having social media. They've only known things that we did not have to prepare for, and what that looks like. And
And they're
so,
surprised that we didn't have those things.
yes, yeah.
They're like, you didn't have internet? You didn't have an iPad?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and now I got really upset in class the other day
Uh-huh.
because they also don't really know how old we are and when we were born, because we were doing place value, and I said, well, come up with the year of your birth, and we talked about 2000 and how many in the hundreds, tens, ones, right?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, now what do you think about Miss B's birth year? Somebody said 1907, and I was totally upset about it. I digress.
How rude.
Okay, that's something else we need to teach, but that's another day.
Listen. Okay, so here's another thing. I went to a store. Now, mind you, it was a coffee shop and used cash.
Uh-huh.
You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, yeah.
These kids do not know how to count change.
Mm-mm. Because it's Apple Pay.
They're used to you just swiping the card and Apple Pay.
Apple Pay,
And
yeah, no.
when I gave the girl, just say it was $6.04,
Mm-hmm.
baby. You know how hard it was for her to give me $4 back because my total was,
Mm-hmm.
604.
Mm-hmm.
She was gonna count out the 98. Ma'am, I don't want the 98 cent.
Yeah.
Like, it was a struggle, and she literally was so confused, and I had to convince her that I was not trying to cheat her. And baby, all you got to do is give me $4, and
Mm-hmm.
we will be. I promise you, your drawer won't be short. Not unless somebody else come here and get you.
Yeah.
See, if they do not know how to count the change, and it's
No.
really sad.
Yeah.
But yes, as you said, we digress because that's a whole nother
So
podcast
whether
on what our generation is missing. This
mm-hmm.
is our generation. This generation is missing. But uh,
But the question is also, are they missing it,
mm,
or do we now have to adjust to what's like? Are we going to continue to have cash in this way? How much
mm,
do they really need to know about cash versus how much do they really need to know how to keep their balance in their account and electronic digital stuff?
yeah,
I struggle with that, you know.
yeah, that makes sense. Max told me the other day, he was like, I don't know why we learned about the Pythagorean theorem. I haven't used that since I learned it. I was like, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But why is that at the top of your mind?
Because they're upset because somebody was talking to him about that, about how he gonna use it. And he,
Yeah.
well, that's also why we see more kids needing to be organized because they are planning to go to work or start a business because they don't want to continue to learn things that it's not going to get them to the end goal. Like, why do they have to take more English and math? And that's
Mm-hmm.
the things that
Mm-hmm.
they're asking if they're deciding to go to a 4 year college. And they don't want to do that.
Yeah. She's amazing, right? I know. I love Miss Tiffany Blassingame. She's having an amazing impact on her community, on students, and listen, she is enlarging her territory. So, we are going to continue this conversation on next week, and you get to finish hearing all about her and the impact that she is creating in her community. Remember, if whatever strategy or system you're putting in place is not saving you in all four areas, space, time, energy, and money, you want to tweak it, you want to rethink it, you want to revisit it so that you're making sure that you're saving in all four areas. Okay. If you have a question that you would like us to answer here on the Organized Life podcast, send that information to info@extremeaudacity.com and we will be sure to get it into rotation. Okay? Until next time, ciao.